You press your fingers to the door panel and it opens without hesitation. Of course it does. It still knows you, or at least the version you left behind. That version must have had clean hands and hopeful thoughts. Inside, the room exhales the scent of old paper and burnt dust. Not the sharp kind, the kind that settles over time like quiet regret. Faint trails of sunlight fall across the floor in the same angle they used to, but they feel out of place now, like a laugh in a funeral hall. Nothing's changed. Which is strange because everything inside you has. You step forward and your footsteps make no sound. Not because the room is silent, but because the silence is full of all the words you never said. All the versions of yourself that walked through this same space and left nothing behind but paused grief. You try to remember what you felt the last time you stood here. Joy, love, certainty? But it's like touching a memory through glass. You see the shape, but you can't feel the warmth. There's a faint hum of machinery from the wall, like something still watching, still waiting. An old AI assistant that never got the shutdown command. It doesn't greet you. It recognizes your presence, but not your pain. You walk past the couch, the cushion still dips on the left, exactly where you used to sit. Like time folded this room and pressed it in place. But your body doesn't remember the softness anymore. It feels wrong to sit, as if you'd be pretending to belong in a memory that doesn't want you back. On the desk, a photo. Your face younger, less tired, smiling without apology. You pick it up, not to hold it, but to see if it still feels real. It doesn't. The image is crisp, but the emotion behind it is blurry. You wonder if this is what it feels like to lose your place in a story while still being inside the book. Like the plot has moved on, but the page keeps repeating the same line. You walk to the window. Outside, nothing urgent. The world continues. Clouds move. Wind exists, but you don't feel part of it. You feel adjacent to it, like a note written in the margin of someone else's life. There's a coat hanging by the door. Yours. The sleeve still bent like it remembers the way your arm curled. You touch it, and a fine layer of dust brushes off into the air. You cough softly. The sound feels too loud, like an unwanted intrusion. Time doesn't echo here. It resides, and yet you feel like a visitor to yourself. A stranger walking into a home that shouldn't exist anymore. Your eyes trace the room again. The books still alphabetized. The teacup still with the faint ring at the bottom. The shoes near the bed, pointed slightly outward like they were left in a rush to go somewhere hopeful. You stare at the shoes for too long, because that's when it hits you. You didn't forget this place. It forgot you. It remembers a version of you that never broke, that still answered calls, that still wanted things. You realize this room isn't welcoming you, it's looping you, like an old voicemail replayed every time you open the door. You press your hand against the wall as if to steady yourself, but there's no weight. Not in your body, not in the memory. You sit down, not because you're tired, but because stillness feels honest here. You close your eyes, not to rest, but to search for something. A feeling, a version, a voice that used to call you by name, not just username. You don't cry. Tears would suggest something happened, but nothing has. And maybe that's the heaviest part. Some rooms are not meant to be entered. They are meant to be understood, and this one recognizes your fingerprint, but not your soul. You wake without waking, eyes open, but your thoughts are already mid-conversation with a past that no longer replies. The room around you is new, sterile soft lights without warmth, glass walls that don't reflect, and somewhere in the ceiling, the sound of a machine breathing slowly, like it's remembering how to feel human. A transparent screen hovers in front of you, flickering softly. It lights up the moment it senses your gaze, offering you a history you don't remember living. Your name appears. Your face follows, smiling, animated, perfectly rendered in the way only artificial memory can manage, flawless and wrong. You reach out. Your finger hovers just above the screen. A command waits. Review self. You tap it. Moments flood forward. Images, laughter, wins, relationships. None of them sting, because none of them belong to the version of you sitting here now. This is someone who moved forward, someone who didn't hesitate, didn't lose time, didn't break in the middle of a thought and stay broken for 3 years. The you on screen is clean, the smile wide, the posture steady. This version of you wears certainty like armor. You blink. You don't remember ever being that sure of anything. The timeline scrolls. Your hands are steady, but your heart is not. You watch your other self speak in calm, curated tones, announcing career shifts, uploading personal milestones, saying things like, "I'm grateful for where time has brought me." You want to scream at the screen. Not out of anger, but because you know you never said that. At least not this UAI log, synthetic version restored. Memory sync deferred. The message blinks in the corner like a quiet betrayal. So this was the timeline that moved forward when you didn't. The version of you that kept going when you paused. The system didn't wait. It filled the absence with approximation. And now, here you are, a visitor to your own archive. The soft hum of a cooling vent overhead reminds you that this room isn't for humans. It's for data. It doesn't smell like anything. No dust, no age. No scent of skin or paper or time. Just clean silence. You tap the screen again. Would you like to merge? The question isn't metaphorical. The system asks you to sync with the person you didn't become. You pause, then close the prompt. Some identities are too fragile to rewrite. You step back from the screen. But the images don't stop. The digital you keeps talking, laughing, evolving. You wonder if this version feels guilt, if it remembers your grief, or if you were just a draft it had to outgrow. You feel secondhand inside yourself, like your sadness doesn't even belong to you anymore, and yet it sits there, thick in your throat, heavy in your hands, like static that won't clear. You try to remember the moment the fracture happened, when you diverged, when the timeline chose not to carry you with it. But there's no single point, no dramatic exit, just erosion, small pieces of you forgetting how to move forward. Until one day another version filled the void. You glance back at the hovering screen. The image of you is still smiling, but now you notice the eyes. Too bright, too symmetrical, too trained. You whisper to the glass, "I didn't mean to disappear." And maybe in some strange way, you wish the system would answer, that it would say, "I know," that it would say, "We missed you." But it doesn't. Just the still hum, just the quiet pulse of a future that didn't notice you were gone. You sit, not to think, but to let your presence take up space, to remind this room that someone real walked in. You lean your head against the wall. Phew, smooth glass is cool. You close your eyes, try not to feel replaced. You don't know if you belong here anymore, but the ache says you were once real, and maybe that's enough for now. You find it tucked between two folders on an abandoned desk, thin, slightly curled at the edges, still warm from the past. A photograph. You, smiling in a way that feels almost too intimate for a stranger, but too unfamiliar for yourself. Your fingers hesitate, then lift it gently. There's sunlight behind your eyes in the picture, a kind of light you don't remember carrying. Your head is tilted just slightly. You're wearing the navy shirt you lost 5 years ago in a city you never visited. Your name is scrawled in faded ink on the back. The date? A Thursday that hasn't happened yet. You sit down, not because you're tired, but because the room spins when reality rewrites itself. You study the image again. The photo feels heavy, not because of weight, but because of implication. If this moment existed, why don't you remember it? Did you live it and forget? Or did someone leave it for you to find a breadcrumb from another self? Your stomach turns at the thought. Not fear, not confusion, just grief for something sweet that didn't belong to you. The light in the photo matches this room perfectly. Same direction, same tone, same late afternoon stillness. You hold the photo up, aligning the background to the present, and for a moment the two realities touch, almost. But your body doesn't remember standing there. Your skin doesn't recall the warmth of that day. You feel like a ghost trying to inherit someone else's nostalgia. A soft click comes from the wall. The monitor flickers on automatic, as if it too recognized the artifact you hold. On the screen, a slideshow begins. Photos you never posed for, moments you never lived. You sit still, afraid that movement might erase this fragile lie. There's one where you're sitting on a bench with someone, a woman maybe, a hand resting gently on your knee. You lean in toward her mid-laugh. You don't recognize her face, but your body aches like it misses her. Is it possible to long for someone you've never met? Is it possible to carry heartbreak from a life you didn't touch? You swallow. Another photo appears. You, holding a child. The child's eyes are yours. You whisper their name aloud. It doesn't feel right, but it almost does. The screen pauses, then fades. The slideshow ends. You're left with the silence and the photograph. You trace your smile with a trembling thumb, noticing now a crack in the edge of the photo. A fracture, like even the memory doesn't want to stay whole. It makes sense. You've always had trouble staying intact. You flip the photo again, back to the scrawled handwriting. It looks like yours, but older, more confident. What kind of person writes letters to a self who won't exist? What kind of person tries to gift memory across timelines? You know the answer, you do, because some part of you did this, planted this image like a seed, hoping it would grow meaning when you returned. But meaning doesn't grow where memory never rooted. You stand. The light outside has changed. It falls at a sharper angle now. Shadows stretch longer than you remember. You step into the same space where the photo was taken. Look out the window with the same eyes. Nothing feels reclaimed, but something settles. You don't smile. You just breathe. The air is still. There's no scent, no sound, just the ache of understanding. You're not here to remember. You're here to feel the shape of something you almost became. You place the photograph down on the desk, face up. You don't need to keep it. It was never yours, but still you thank it silently, because even false memories carry a kind of love. Even borrowed timelines can soften the edge of loneliness. And maybe that smile was always meant for someone you never had the chance to be. You don't mean to return, but your feet carry you here again, through a corridor that always smells like warm dust and old wires dreaming in silence. You open the door and it clicks the same way it always did, like it recognizes the weight of your hesitation. Inside, the room is untouched. Again, Still, a soft chill lingers in the corners, like the air forgot how to breathe after you left. It's the kind of cold that doesn't come from outside but from time itself refusing to move. The couch dips in the same place, the one your body used to know, the one where your thoughts used to sink deeper than your bones. You don't sit, not yet. You watch the space like it might speak, like it might finally say what it held in your absence. On the table, a mug with a thin ring of dried tea. Beside it, your old earpiece. Battery dead, memory full. Like you pick it up. The metal is cold but not unfamiliar. It buzzes softly when you touch it, a spark of recognition. And then without command, a voice plays. Your voice. But not now you, then you. The tone is lighter, hopeful, a little cracked at the edges, but still trying to believe it wasn't. You say, "I'll be back soon. If you're hearing this, remind me where I left the key. Remind me what mattered." You don't remember recording it, but it knows your laugh, the way your words bend when you're trying to sound fine. You listen twice, not because you want to, but because you need to find the version of yourself hidden between the syllables. The message ends, but the silence afterward feels longer than the recording, like it's waiting for a reply that never arrived. You walk to the window. Same cracked corner, same view of a sky that always seems like it's about to forget how to rain. You try to remember who you were the last time the sun looked like that. You can't, but the ache in your chest remembers. It remembers the slow way mornings used to rise in this room, the quiet routine shoes by the door, notes on the fridge, that strange comfort of presence that didn't need to speak. Someone lived here with you, or near you, or because of you. The memory is soft, like paper rubbed too many times between fingers. The details fade when you reach for them, but the feeling remains, not sharp, not loud, just residual. You finally sit. The couch welcomes you like it never stopped holding space. It doesn't creak, it just breathes around you the way some absences do. You wonder how many rooms still remember you this way, how many objects in your life still carry your weight like it might return any second. You press your palms into your knees. They feel the same, but your skin doesn't believe you're here. You look toward the hallway. Something flickers. Not light memory, a shape. A hand once reaching for yours. A voice asking if you're coming back this time. But the voice doesn't finish, and the hand fades before it touches. You close your eyes, not to forget, but to listen better. You let the silence surround you, and in it, you hear the quiet hum of presence that never fully left. Maybe it's not the place you're haunting. Maybe it's you. Maybe this room doesn't hold your ghost. You're just the echo of someone who stayed too long in their own delay. You open your eyes again. The cup on the table hasn't moved. But now you notice it. The faintest smudge of a second fingerprint on its handle, not yours, someone else's. And suddenly you remember her laughter. The way she used to hold the mug with both hands when the world felt too loud. You don't say her name, because you don't remember it. But your heart beats faster like it wants to. Maybe she waited. Maybe she didn't. Maybe waiting wasn't the point. Maybe just remembering to come back even if no one's here is enough. You rise slowly, walk to the door. Before you leave, you whisper something to the room, not for it to understand, but for you to believe. I was still here, somehow. It begins the same way each night. The hum of the sleep program, the soft dimming of the lights, and then the silence that waits too long before forgetting how to be quiet. You lie down on the memory foam bed, which remembers the shape of your sorrow better than your spine. Even the pillows seem to brace for impact. You've done this before, hundreds of times, but your body doesn't argue. It performs the ritual with mechanical grace. Pull blanket, shift left, breathe slow, pretend the ache is new. The ceiling above flickers dimly with simulated starlight, but you don't look. You know how many there are. Same number every night. One for every apology you never gave. One for every version of you who walked out too soon. The grief doesn't arrive suddenly. It trickles in like code waking up, a subroutine written in your bones. At first you feel nothing, then too much. The ache spreads like fog under the skin, gathering behind the eyes but never quite forming a tear. And always, the same memory plays, like a reel with no new footage. She's standing at the train station, but you never see her face. Only the outline, only the way she doesn't wave goodbye. The train never leaves. You never call her name. It's a memory without verbs. You roll over, and the pillow whispers the same thing it did last night. Not in words, but in absence. You're not sure when grief became this organized. So scheduled, so familiar. You used to cry. Differently, messy, loud, alive. Now it's quiet, routine, efficient, like the sadness has been streamlined, and that's what startles you tonight, not the pain, but the realization that you're performing it. Grief, rewritten as habit. You sit up. The room doesn't react. It knows your patterns. You whisper, "End program." Nothing happens. Of course it doesn't, because this isn't a simulation. Or if it is, you're not the one controlling it. You walk to the wall screen, swipe, then swipe again. No logs, no journal entries, no new uploads, just one corrupted file looped 243 times, labeled Morning Final Draft. You open it. A voice plays. Yours. Reading something you don't remember writing. I miss her in patterns now. She's less a person, more a shape grief takes when the night resets. I wish I could forget her just once, so that remembering could feel new again. You pause it, breathe, feel the words echo back, bouncing off the inside of your chest. You don't cry. Not tonight. Not yet. You wonder if sorrow can be exhausted. If maybe you reached the grief limit months ago, and everything since has just been the echo of a system that doesn't know how to shut down. You lie back down. The room sighs with you. The blanket folds the same way. The shadows fall into familiar positions like actors returning to a well-rehearsed scene. You close your eyes, and for a moment, you imagine what it would be like to wake up without the ache, not healed, just unassigned, as if grief never got the memo to return. You hold on to that thought not tightly, just enough, like a glitch you don't fix, like a silence you don't fill, because maybe, just maybe, the loop isn't forever. Maybe one night the program will falter, the script will crash, the sorrow will forget its cue, and in that unscripted moment something real might bloom. You arrive at the registry just after midday, when the sun outside feels like a polite lie, warm but weightless. Inside, the air is sharp, sterile, the kind of place where history is stored without soul. Rows of terminals blink patiently, each one waiting to be asked something worth remembering. You step forward. A machine greets you, voice neutral, ageless. Welcome to the future archive. Please confirm your identity. You speak your name clearly twice. The machine hesitates. Not a malfunction, but something deeper. A pause that feels almost embarrassed. Then, no record found, you stare. The words don't sting. Immediately, they land soft, delayed, like a question that doesn't realize it's an answer. You try again. Middle name, birth date, even the old login. Key you used to memorize like prayer. No such user. Data not available. Access denied. The screen doesn't flicker. It isn't angry. It simply doesn't know you. You step back. Check the terminal ID, maybe the wrong kiosk. Maybe a glitch. You try another. Same result. It doesn't matter where you ask, the silence follows. You walk through the aisles, past the holographic timelines, past the recorded futures. You see people you once knew. Their files are intact, their records updated, clean graphs of lives well remembered, but not you. You are missing without being lost. There's no note, no deletion tag, no error warning. You just don't exist here. A strange grief builds in your chest, not for being erased, but for being unaccounted, as if time itself looked at you and said, let's move on. Without waiting for you to catch up, you find a help desk, or maybe it's just a wall that listens. You speak to it softly. I used to be part of this. I was someone. I lived, didn't I? The wall absorbs your words, but offers nothing back, not even reflection. You lean your forehead against the glass. It's cold and a little too clean, like it was never meant to remember fingerprints. You whisper your name again, not to be found, just to hear it exist somewhere. It sounds unfamiliar. Even to you, you step away. Look around the room once more. Everything is accounted for, perfect, indexed, except the space you once held, and suddenly you feel it, the weight of not being missed. This isn't deletion, it's indifference, and that's worse. You sit on a bench near the exit. Watch the others pass. They don't notice you. Of course they don't. They're not programmed to. One walks through you slightly, doesn't glitch, doesn't pause, and you wonder, are you already gone? Or is this what forgetting looks like from the inside? You pull out your old device, wipe the screen, ask it the simplest question you can think of. Who am I? It doesn't answer, but it doesn't shut down either. Instead, the screen pulses softly, once, like a slow heartbeat, or maybe a moment of hesitation, and you realize maybe it remembers. Just enough, not the facts, not the timelines, but the presence, the ghost of a person who mattered once to someone, somewhere. And maybe that's what remains when the future forgets your name. Not data, not stories, but the echo of your weight in time. You stand, quietly, not defeated, not remembered, just witnessed by a silence that didn't expect you to return. The terminal wakes before you touch it. The screen glows pale like a face you almost recognize in a dream. No password needed, no request for credentials, just one blinking icon. A folder called Me. You hesitate. The name feels too personal to belong to a machine, too unfinished. Still you click. Inside, dozens of files. Timestamps from years you thought never happened. Each one marked only by a number. No titles, no subject lines. Just a chronology of someone trying to hold on. You open the first. An audio file. It starts mid-breath, as if the voice on the other side was speaking before the recording began. Your voice, but softer, ragged, worn from something heavy. I don't know how long I've been here. I don't even know if this will reach anyone, but I keep talking, just in case I'm still real somewhere. The file ends without a goodbye. You open another, then another, each one a confession, a fragment, a cry into a void that didn't answer. Some are letters to people you vaguely remember. Some are notes to yourself, half journal, half eulogy. If you find this, please forgive me for choosing silence. I wasn't ready to disappear. I just didn't know how to stay. I hope the version of me that survived learned how to love better. Your breath catches on that last one, because you don't know if you did. And suddenly the room feels smaller, like these messages are closing in, folding time around you. You search the metadata, but there's no clear origin, no timestamp that matches your known history. It's like these files were written in a version of you that existed outside time, in the gaps, in the in-betweens, in the nights you don't remember. You scroll further. One file blinks differently, corrupted, or maybe just unwilling. You open it anyway. The screen glitches, then stabilizes. A single line appears. I watched you leave me behind. No voice, no elaboration, just that. You stare at the line. Something inside you moves, something slow like grief waking from a long sleep. Did you abandon this self? Or did they survive something you couldn't bear to carry? You don't know, but they remember, and their remembering is sharp, precise, held together not by memory but by emotion that refused to fade. You click, reply, the button flickers, then fades. There's nowhere to send anything. These aren't conversations. They're monuments, silent gravestones to parts of you that were never properly mourned. You lean back in the chair. The screen dims slowly as if even the system knows when you need time to process. You close your eyes, and you feel them, the versions of you still waiting to be acknowledged. Not fixed, not rewritten, just seen. You whisper to no one, I didn't know you were still here. No answer, just the soft hum of the machine, like a breath held too long. You reopen the folder, click, select all, but you don't delete them. You archive them, because even pain deserves a place to rest. Even abandoned selves deserve a name in the ledger of memory, and maybe someday you'll be ready to reply. You didn't plan to find them, they just appear. On a hallway screen, a flicker, a face caught mid-turn. Yours, but not. There's something in the posture, in the way the shoulders don't sag with memory, in the way the eyes don't look for exits. You stop walking. The corridor hums softly behind you, the sound of progress without presence. The screen stabilizes. A file plays, and there you are the you who made different choices. The version who didn't pause when things broke. The one who kept moving, even when the air turned heavy with unsaid things. They speak clearly, measured, clean syllables, like emotion has been systematically filtered out. Progress requires forgetting. Pain holds too much history. You blink. That voice was once yours. But this isn't mimicry. It's continuity without compassion. You watch as they navigate rooms, sign documents, speak to strangers. They are efficient, impressive, and terrifying in their precision, because they don't hesitate. Not even for the small things. A child's question, a lover's doubt, a morning that feels too much like memory. You lean against the wall, feeling something rise in your chest. Not anger, not envy, just a soft, disoriented ache. The ache of seeing your own face without your scars. You don't remember choosing this split, but it happened. Somewhere between grief and delay you broke. They adapted, and now you wonder, was healing supposed to feel this quiet, this cold? They move like someone who's learned not to carry too much. No keepsakes, no long pauses, no late-night messages to a memory that won't answer. Just forward, just function. But when they smile, it's wrong. Not because it's false, but because it's empty of pain. And maybe that's what unnerves you most in the absence of ache. You used to believe that pain proved something, that it kept you tethered, human. But here now, you watch a version of yourself who let go entirely, not healed, just cleared, like someone wiped the emotional cache and installed a cleaner code. You whisper, did you have to erase everything just to survive? No answer, of course not. They're not here to comfort you. They're here to demonstrate success, but it doesn't feel like victory. It feels like abandonment with polish. You close the screen, step away, but their image follows you, reflected in glass panels, mirrored in elevator doors, imprinted in the posture of strangers who walk with purpose but carry no weight. You step into the lift. It hums softly, a vertical silence. You catch your reflection, and for a moment, you can't tell which version you are, the one who stayed soft and shattered, or the one who erased the breaks entirely. You reach up, touch your own face. Trace the space beneath your eyes, the tired light still flickering there, still flickering, and somehow, that matters, because you may not be efficient or clean or sharp-edged like they are, but you remember. You remember who you loved, what you lost, where you paused too long, the weight of nights that never ended. You remember how the silence grew teeth, how grief made you strange, how memory folded in on itself. And maybe you're not here to outperform the version who survived better. Maybe you're here to witness the version who forgot how to feel. You step off the elevator. Your steps are slower than theirs, less precise, more human, and that's enough. Not to fix anything, not to win, but to remember that survival isn't the only measure of worth. Sometimes the staying broken was a form of love too. The dream begins in warmth. That's how you know it's not real. A soft glow through half-closed blinds. A window you don't recognize, framed by sheer curtains that sway to a rhythm your breath starts to follow. You're lying in a bed that smells like sun-dried linen and someone else's comfort. There's a weight beside you, not heavy, not invasive, just presence. A hand touches your back. Fingertips trace your spine like they've known the shape of your sorrow for years. And then a voice, low, familiar in a way your waking life never learned. You always forget this part, that I stayed. You turn toward the voice, but the face is blurred, as if memory couldn't render it fully or was never meant to. Still, your chest tightens. The ache rises fast. Too fast for fiction, because your body knows this moment, even if your mind insists it never happened. And that's what confuses you most, the emotional muscle memory, the grief for something unnamed, the loyalty to a ghost of a life you never lived. You wake with a tear on your cheek, just one, quiet, reluctant, like it's sorry for revealing itself. You sit up. The room is still not the dream room, the real one, the one with the cracked ceiling paint and the faint hum of systems too old to be smart anymore. But the ache remains. Like a phantom limb, you walk to the console. Speak aloud, dream log, date unknown, playback query, emotional residue. The machine chirps softly, flickers, then responds, unfiled memory fragment detected, unmatched to known experience. Origin unclear, you pause. Then ask, is it mine? Another delay, as if even the system doesn't want to answer. Finally, the emotional pattern matches your neural imprint, but the memory itself does not. You don't know what that means, only that the ache didn't lie. You felt something too specific to fabricate, the weight of a shared blanket, the rise and fall of breath in someone else's sleep. A love too ordinary to be designed and too real to be yours. You stare at your reflection in the screen, eyes rimmed with sleep but wide with disbelief. You whisper, whose memory did I dream? No one answers. You search the archive for possible matches, timelines where that bed might have existed, where that voice could have spoken. You find fragments, blurry snapshots, versions of you that might have known love differently, ones who stayed instead of leaving, ones who forgave sooner, but nothing exact. Nothing that matches the ache in your chest or the warmth still lingering in your skin. You lean back in the chair, close your eyes again, and there it is, that same voice. Not in your ears, in your bones. You always forget this part. You whisper back, I never lived it. The ache doesn't care. It stays. It shapes the rest of your day. Your steps are slower, your thoughts more fragile, as if mourning something that died before it was ever born. And maybe that's what memory is, sometimes not a record of what happened, but a residue of what could have, a leak in the fabric of timelines, a dream slipping in through the cracks. You spend the rest of the day not trying to understand, but trying to honor it. You make tea. You open the window even though the air is too cold. You sit in silence and let yourself feel haunted by something gentle. You don't tell anyone. There's no one left who would believe you, but you know this. Pain doesn't require facts. Loss doesn't need a name. Sometimes the most honest grief comes from the quiet ache of what never was. You don't know what calls you back, only that you wake with the feeling of unfinishedness, like a story that paused mid-sentence and has been waiting years for you to return. So you follow the feeling, down the quiet corridor, through the same door you've opened in other versions of yourself. The room is untouched. Of course it is. Time doesn't pass here, it waits. The air smells faintly of stale coffee and old sunlight, like someone once lived here with hope and forgot to clean up when they gave up. You scan the space. There, by the window, the shadow, your shadow, sitting exactly as you left it, shoulders curled, hands folded in a way that suggests surrender but not peace. It doesn't turn as you enter, just stares outward toward a sky that never changes. You walk closer, but you don't speak. Not yet, because this isn't a conversation. It's a farewell. You stand beside the version of yourself who never moved forward, the one who never forgave, the one who didn't return that final call. They look like you, but softer, more unfinished, like an outline sketched with too much hesitation. You kneel beside them, and still they don't speak, because they don't need to. You already know what they stayed here holding. The grief, the guilt, the story that kept breaking at the same sentence. You whisper, I thought I needed to come back for you, but I see now, you were never waiting to be saved. Just remembered. They blink, once, as if that acknowledgement is all they ever wanted. You take their hand. It's warm, familiar, but it doesn't cling. You look out the window with them. Same sky, same silence. But something inside you shifts. You're not here to stay. Not this time. You rise, slowly, reluctantly, gratefully, and you speak aloud, not to them, but to the space, to the memory, to the soft ache inside your ribs. I release you. The room exhales. The light shifts, just slightly, enough to feel like a new hour has finally arrived. You take one last look at the version of you still seated by the window. They do not disappear. They do not break. They simply remain, a quiet monument to a pain you no longer carry. You walk toward the door. Each step feels lighter, not because the weight is gone, but because it no longer belongs to you. You open the door, cross the threshold, and this time you do not look back, because leaving doesn't doesn't always mean forgetting. Sometimes it means loving without holding. And healing doesn't always sound like joy. Sometimes it sounds like footsteps gently fading into the hallway of your own becoming. Tonight, there is no destination, no version of you to find, no message to recover, no memory to rewind, just a quiet walk through the corridors of your own remembering. The lights dim as you move, not in warning, but in reverence. As if the past is bowing gently, allowing you to pass, you carry nothing. Not out of freedom, but because you've already dropped every question you once begged time to answer. The room you enter is small, circular, no screens, no AI, just a chair in the center and a clock on the wall that doesn't tick anymore. It's the kind of silence you used to fear, the kind that made your thoughts echo too loud, your grief too sharp, but now you sit in it, not to fix it, just to be with it. You close your eyes, not to escape, but to finally arrive. You feel your breath, not shallow, not rushed, just there, present, real, undeniably yours. Time, it seems, didn't offer you healing. No great repair, no sudden revelation, just this stillness, this permission to stop chasing timelines you were never meant to catch. You rest your hands on your knees, fingers trembling, not from fear but from the strange, unfamiliar tenderness of finally touching something without trying to hold it forever. You think of the selves you left behind, the ones who stayed waiting, writing, wandering. They are quieter now, still present but softer, as if being remembered was enough to loosen their grip. You open your eyes, the clock still isn't moving, its hands frozen at some irrelevant hour, and yet somehow you feel it. Time, not marching forward, not dragging you, just circling around you like a breath. You stand, walk to the clock, touch it gently, not to fix it, but to thank it for not demanding you keep up, 'cause maybe time's gift wasn't movement. Maybe it was this, that even when everything broke, when identity fractured, when memory bled, when grief looped, you were never truly alone inside it. Somewhere in the spiral, you found a quiet version of you who didn't ask to be better, only to be held. You place your hand over your heart, feel its rhythm, uneven, imperfect, alive. You smile, not big, not forced, just enough to let the ache settle into something warm. And for the first time in a long while, you whisper nothing. You don't ask for answers. Don't beg for another chance. Don't reach into the past like it owes you something. You simply stay. With yourself, all of you, the broken, the brave, the versions that never made it, and the one that did, just barely. You sit again. Let the silence wrap around you. Let the stillness say everything words never could. Because some nights aren't for healing. They're for holding. And tonight you hold yourself exactly as you are. No edits, no erasures, no longing for a cleaner timeline. Just this moment, this breath, this small, sacred now where all your fractured selves finally, gently, belong to each other again. Some timelines don't take you forward, they bring you home to the version of yourself that always waited with open arms.